Welcome everyone to another live edition of 410 Sports Talk. I'm Glenn Martin. DK's in the background helping me out. But man, we had to go live, had to get out here quickly with the breaking news from the Baltimore Ravens. And look, I'm just going to throw it right up there and jump right into it because, man, I mean, amongst the OTA days, and that's kind of the focus right now in the news world, but look, the Ravens front office is working, ladies and gentlemen. As you see on the screen, Rashod Bateman and the Baltimore Ravens agree on a contract extension. And, man, I mean, look, we knew we were all excited for the most part when Rashod signed his extension a couple years ago and thought it was an excellent deal. And but at that point, he still hadn't quite lived up to the first-round draft pick and the expectations when he was brought here. But since that contract was signed, I think all Ravens fans can admit that he's certainly taken that next step and gotten to the next level. We're going to get into that here and what he did after signing that. But 3-year extension for Rashod Bateman. I'm pulling it up now to show you guys what that looks like. Adam Schefter tweeted out that this is a 3-year deal in value of $36.75 million. It includes $20 million in guarantees. But look, it's not that's the new money, right? That's the new years. But let's not forget that this guy was already under contract. And as you can see here, I'm switching it out, showing you what that really means. Shout out to Brian McFarland at Ravens salary cap on X. This is a 3-year extension on top of the 2 years already remaining on his present deal. So in other words, this is now turned into a 5-year contract, essentially for $47.5 million, which includes $10.75 million from his previous deal and the new money in $36.75 over the 3 years of the new money deal. So, man, I mean, you're telling me they got Rashod Bateman for $9.5 million over the next 5 years annually. I mean, that is absolutely unbelievable. And so we're going to get into what he's accomplished, but just so you guys can see here what that means as far as, you know, value against his peers, other wide receivers around the league, $9.5 million annually puts him under contract through 2029. And I'm just going to throw it up right here. Let's see what other receivers are making around the year. So $9.5 million is the annual salary for Rashod Bateman. And that's in comparison. Look at Jamar Chase, over $40 million annually. Justin Jefferson, $35 million. CeeDee Lamb, $34. Look, I'm not saying that he's Jamar Chase and he's not Justin Jefferson. I'm not saying that. But let's go down how far it would be to get to where Rashod Bateman is being paid annually, $9.5 million. Here we go. So, of course, Marvin Harrison Jr. is still on his rookie deal, so we can imagine what that deal is going to look like once he gets signed. But Tutu Atwell is making $10 million a year. De'Ami Brown, okay player, $10 million. Josh Palmer, $10 million. These guys are all making more money than Rashod Bateman will be for the next 5 years. Darnell Mooney, I mean, Shakir, I mean, you name it. You pick a – now, look, there's some good players on this list, but I think we can all agree that we'd rather have Rashod Bateman over a vast majority of these players. Even some of these guys that are getting paid a ton of money. I'm taking our guy. I'm taking Rashod Bateman. You know, there's some guys on this list I'd take over him. There's a whole lot making a whole lot more money that I wouldn't. And to get Rashod Bateman for less than a quarter of some of these guys annually is absolutely insane. And just to kind of further that point, you know, we're going to get into what he does for this team specifically, but again, comparing him to his peers, Rashod Bateman last season had the eighth highest passer rating when targeted amongst all pass catchers in the league last year, albeit, you know, with minimum 60 targets, but I think that's a pretty low bar to surpass. And there he is, Rashod Bateman, 125.9, higher than, I mean, Chris Godwin had an unbelievable season last year, like ridiculous. I mean, it's funny enough to see who's at the top of this list. For those fans who wanted to get rid of Mark Andrews and are ready to anoint Isaiah Likely as the next great tight end in football. Well, Mark Andrews, he's still at the top of that list last season. But Rashod Bateman, respectfully, 8th on the list league-wide. This guy is I mean, you throw him the ball, he knows what to do with it. And then, of course, what he brings to this team more specifically, as you can see on the screen here, I think the biggest thing he brought last year, aside from being our second leading receiver from a yard standpoint, our second leading receiver from a touchdown standpoint, aside from that, I think the biggest thing he probably proved is that he can stay healthy. He played in all 17 games last season, and relatively healthy all across the board when it comes to pass catchers. But let's not forget, Zay Flowers missed that playoff game. Rashod Bateman was able to prove to everyone that he's able to stay healthy. And on top of that, he was our best deep threat. Our biggest chunk play threat on the team was, no doubt about it, Rashod Bateman. Of course, Tylan Wallace has, he passed him slightly, but in a much, much smaller sample size. Anyone who had, a reasonable amount of attempts, Rashod Bateman was higher than them in average yards per catch. And as anyone who's a big-time football fan knows how much chunk plays matter in the league, how much they're demoralizing for the other team. They're obviously chain movers. Big plays change and swing momentum. No doubt about it. So having a guy like that who you can count on, and look, 9 touchdowns, only second behind Mark Andrews. Like, this guy was incredibly valuable. And you get this guy, Nut Nasty, my bad. Appreciate you coming out. Look, I'm cycling through a lot of different windows here. So I unfortunately, I don't always see the chat. But appreciate you, King Blaze. Appreciate you coming out, Jared. Yeah, hopefully that's what this means. And look, Jared's right. Hopefully this means we can keep Zay and Bateman together for a while. And I think the Ravens have been in the business for a long time of keeping good homegrown talent here in Baltimore. They're not necessarily a team that likes to watch their guys leave like the Baltimore Orioles are, where they can grow talent but can't seem to keep them. That's not the case in Baltimore. Now, some have gotten away. It's the nature of being a good team, good at drafting and good at development, that you can't pay everyone. But for the most part, the Ravens keep their talent, their homegrown talent here at home. So KBZ says, yeah, EDC does it again. And for the right price. You're right. I mean, it's unbelievable how, because it almost feels like Rashod Bateman's being once again underpaid, but I think the Ravens have built such a good rapport and such a good relationship with their players that they do kind of get, I would say, a hometown discount at times. I think we heard Ronnie Stanley talk about that. He could have commanded a bigger contract elsewhere, chose to stay here in Baltimore. And I think this is another example of that. I think if Rashod Bateman were to hit the open market, there's no doubt he's making more than 9.5 annually. There's just no doubt about it. In my opinion, who was it that put out? I want to give credit. Somebody put out during the George Pickens trade that Rashod Bateman has more value than George Pickens. I think he's right. I think he's absolutely right. I mean, you look at all that comes into him as a player as well as George Pickens. I'd rather have Rashod Bateman. Give me Rashod Bateman. No doubt about it. This guy's been valuable to the team. He's going to continue to be valuable for years to come. I hope that he can continue to stay healthy, because that was really the biggest issue, him coming out, was the foot injury. And then, the injuries that kind of came off of the foot injury. That's the only thing that's really slowed him down. If he's out there and he's healthy, this guy makes plays. He's good with the ball in his hand. I pointed out the fact that he's a deep ball threat. He's a tactician as a route runner. One of the very best in the league at separating. So, man, what a win for the Ravens. What a win for Rashod Bateman. He increases his pockets. He was only making around $6 million going into this, and he got a bigger paycheck. So shout out to him. Shout out to Eric DeCosta for getting this guy under contract through 2029. He does it again, man. Does it again. But let me know what you guys think. Was this as big a win as I think it is, or am I missing something? Am I overlooking something? Let me know in the comments section below, and we'll talk soon. See you.